no, really,
Oh,
the
you
first
never saw
time?
that.
No, I never saw it. Saw pieces of it. We've talked about it when it was a topic that I've never seen it. My wife is rewatching it with me. She remembered it being hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's okay. It's a good movie. It's not amazing. It's not laugh out loud funny.
I never thought it was funny at all.
I remember everybody saying it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Dude, I think it's hilarious.
Have you seen it recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. I love it.
I don't dislike it. It just wasn't, Eddie Murphy delirious having me like laughing out loud funny.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, if you're going to compare it to a stand-up comedy special, you can't.
Or, I mean, even, other things. It was good. Don't get me wrong. I'm almost done. A little inappropriate. Like it's crazy. Like what the servants were made to do that today we'd be like, oh, that's not right. You can't make a servant do that.
What'd they do?
The cleaning of royal body parts was the beautiful topless women. What's going on, Blister Bill? What's going on, Geoconj?
Hello, everyone.
Go Orioles, opening day Thursday. Dude, the Cubbies, I'm excited. Everyone says 2026 is 2016 part 2. I'd be okay with that. And do you guys follow hockey at all? Top 2 teams.
Stanley Cup.
Yeah, top 2 teams, 2 conferences, Carolinas and the Sabres. So where I am now and where I grew up, top 2 teams. Pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Kevin says, nice Angelo Papas shirt, sir.
That's right. Utah, get me too.
I don't know what that means.
It's from Point Break.
Oh, Utah. Okay, Johnny, Utah.
Okay. Yeah. When you say it may I get it, but then like I don't remember the lines as much.
Yeah. Utah, get me too.
All right, the room is starting to fill in. We've got a few people getting close to a dirty dozen. Say hey as you pop in. If this is your first time, let us know. But this is the ThreeView Mirror. Something that, whether you knew it or not, goes on every week. 3 good friends getting together and discussing an era of pop culture, movies, music, television, commercials, life that doesn't really exist anymore except in our memories. We talk about 3 different topics every week, and those 3 different topics have a secret connection. And therein lies the game. That's the fun part of the ThreeView Mirror. You, the listener at home, or in our virtually live studio audience, play along with the 2 co-hosts that try to decide, determine, and uncover what the secret connection is that every week's host brings to the table. So this week, the host is Chris Clues. He's got some topics we have not yet heard, but when he does, we're going to discuss each for about 15 minutes. And then at the end, and only at the end, will we entertain suggestions to what we think the ThreeView Mirror hidden connection is. Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? We don't know, but we'll find out at the end. My name is John Katrides, better known as Gen X Jono across social media platforms, and I'm joined by 2 of my best friends. Shell, say hey.
Hey, I'm Rochelle O'Black, better known as Gen X Show Online. I think I recognize just about every name in here, so you probably already know this already, so I'm going to send it right on over to Chris.
Chris Clues, better known as Chris Clues, speaker and author. I write and speak about the lessons that we can learn for life and work from 80s pop culture. I was just in Greenville last week, which is why I wasn't on the show last week. I was in Greenville for a keynote there and then heading to Houston this weekend.
And this is the ThreeView Mirror podcast. All right, Chris, the floor is yours. You are the host. Okay. Mr. Bill says, give us the clues. Chris?
Clever. Clever. All right. So I actually have done this in the past where I have 4 topics instead of 3. And I'm going to allow everyone, including Shell and John, to chime in and pick one of 2 for one of these topics. So I'm going to tell you the 2 of the topics for sure are going to be infomercials and phys ed class.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Now, the other one, phys ed class, is going to be last.
Yeah.
So we're going to pick between 2 for our first topic, which could either be 80s wrestlers or game shows.
I can tell you guys, for the joy you may experience in terms of banter, I don't know a whole lot about 80s wrestlers. I know a lot personally about game shows. So don't let that, determine what you're going to vote for. But yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me too. I was just about to say the same thing. I can name a few, but that's it by name and no other details.
Okay. Yeah, so we got one vote for 80s wrestlers. We have 80s wrestlers or 80s.
Thank you, Boozy.
Could be 70s, 80s, 90s game shows. We can do the whole Gen X thing with the game shows as well. So,
and I mean, again with the wrestlers, JT, you can't vote more than once. Don't think I didn't notice that.
Wrestling. We're gonna watch some wrestling.
God, I got 20 people in here. I need about 18 of you to say game shows.
Game shows.
Or wrestlers.
Kevin, you shush.
Wait, are they voting twice?
Oh, they're voting 3 and 4 times. Come on, game show. That's going to be grounds for elimination right there.
All right, so Sue says Georgiana Steele was a sweetheart, but go with the game show. Why not? Okay. So we're kind of like, I'd say we're like 60-40,
but there's a lot of people we haven't heard from yet. JTR says I vote early and often. Well, then throw one my way.
We'll give it just another minute or two for more people to come in. But what we're deciding right now, if you just got here, is 2 of the topics for sure are going to be infomercials and phys ed class. Now we're choosing between either 80s wrestlers or game shows as the other topic. And we're throwing it out to all of you. And so far, I would say it's still about 60-40 wrestlers.
I don't know. I think I'll take game shows for $500, Alex. I mean, Chris, I think that tied it up. Next one might show us. Come on.
Terry Funk was in Roadhouse. That's right.
Rod Toombs was a great guy when he had bubblegum. I don't know who Rod Toombs is. Dutch Mantel. I don't know any of these names.
Means game shows. Joker.
I loved that show. Dude, inappropriateness of kissing 12-year-old girls on the lips. That's what game shows can bring us.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to tilt towards game shows. I'll tell you what, we'll go game shows. It looks like it's kind of like 50-50 right now, but I promise you that the next time I host, we are going to do 80s wrestlers. So John and Shell, you have some homework. I want you guys to start to at least do a little bit of research on 80s wrestlers. But we'll go with the game shows for this one. So our 3 topics are going to be deal or no deal? Deal or no deal? Deal
or no deal.
Okay, so the 3 topics are going to be game shows, infomercials, and phys ed class.
Wow. And now for those new, and I see a couple new names in the topic, something runs through all 3 of these topics. There's something that connects infomercials, game shows, and gym class. And as a hidden clue, apparently 80s wrestlers as well. Because that could also have connected.
As a hidden clue, 80s wrestlers, yes.
There is an extra clue today.
Yeah.
Where do you want us to start, Chris?
We're going to start with game shows.
Okay.
And, they were a big, obviously there aren't as many now, but back in the day, and we've talked about this a little bit on the show, the way that the TV was designed, like this template that they had. You had the daytime game shows and the daytime soap operas, and then you had the nighttime game shows and the nighttime soap operas along with the sitcoms. But so many game shows. I mean, we Joker's Wild and Price is Right and Wheel of Fortune and The Gong Show and Jeopardy and on and on and on. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it.
I was never so disappointed in my entire life when they stopped shopping on Wheel of Fortune. I was like, I'm done watching Wheel of Fortune. I don't really care. They won cash prizes. When they just stopped shopping for stuff, I'm like, I'm not watching.
But they were fabulous gifts and cash prizes. I actually like the shift because I couldn't stand watching that stupid grandfather clock, that was like $7,000 or 10. It was so overinflated pricing on that. I just remember a lot of kids talk about how Price is Right was like there was a day homesick from school and we were brought up by soap operas and Bob Barker. You know, it was whether it was summers and it was raining outside or it was a sick day. You know, you mentioned there's less game shows today. There are, but now they've moved into prime time as these juggernaut things.
Oh yeah,
where you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire really moved to bring that back. And instead of being $2,000, they could win literally $1 million. It's Rob Lowe and The Floor. They're just much bigger now. Yeah, but I loved Joker's Wild as a kid. I wanted to pull on that thing. And I just remember thinking how cool that would be. I even enjoyed watching, you know, the old ones. We're watching people say Password and Match Game in the 70s. Match Game in the 70s was horrifically inappropriate and funny as hell.
Yep.
Well, I mean, how many of those games we had? The Newlywed Game. I mean, somebody mentioned Newlywed, you know, the dating game. I mean, they went for it in a lot of these shows. Like, there was no holds barred on what they did or said.
Someone mentioned Sale of the Century, and what's the one with the 3 curtains and that sometimes
Let's Make a Deal?
Let's Make a Deal. Yeah. That's still on today. And every once in a while I'll catch it and I'll be like, you know what? It was hilarious. I love that one.
Whammy, whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, stop. People are saying Whammy was the best. I mean, I guess I was an old soul. I remember Match Game would change the title of the show based on year. So at least originally it was Match Game 75, Match Game 76, Match Game 77. So I know exactly how old I was when I was watching it. And I was watching it as a 6, 7, and 8-year-old kid, oblivious to the fact that Richard Dawson was blotto, drunk out of his mind, glass of scotch coming up every 3 seconds. Gene
the dancing machine.
No, that was Gene. Help me, studio audience. What was the name of the host? Gene. He had that long mic that even Bob Barker had too. I thought looked so cool.
Somebody mentioned the pyramid. What was it? 25,000.
Started 10,000.
10,000.
And then went to 25,000. Then 100,000.
Nowadays, if you want a $10,000 pyramid, you'd be like, yeah. Like, thanks.
Somebody mentioned Dating Game had the serial killer on it.
Yeah, it did. Yep.
Gene Rayburn.
Rodney.
I got it just before they told me, but yes, it was Gene Rayburn.
Rodney Alcala. I think he was the serial killer on the Dating Game.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of celebrities before they were celebrities that were on the Dating Game as well.
Yeah. Tom Selleck.
Yeah. I think Harrison Ford might have been on there.
Maybe. And they spoofed the Dating Game in one of my favorite Gen X movies, Mallrats.
Yeah, that's right. And then you had, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. I forgot to take my Prevagen.
It'll come again in about 10 minutes. Those trains run pretty consecutively. It'll come and it'll go, and it'll come and it'll go.
Oh God!
What's going on, Linda? Glad you made it. Yeah, Rodney Alcala. Somebody mentioned.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yep.
So and I said it in the onset, but damn, Richard Dawson. First of all, 2 things. Number one, he kissed women straight on the mouth. No air kiss, no side kiss. And by women, I use the term lightly, advisedly. Sometimes there were these little girls, and I'm not saying he meant anything by it. It was a different time. My daughter was watching Bionic Woman with me, and she goes, why does her boss keep kissing her on the mouth? Oscar Goldman, every time he would see Jamie Summers, would kiss her like, boom, right on the mouth. And I'm like, wow, 70s. I don't know. It was a thing.
I don't recall that, but I believe you.
And then the second thing, I just saw a clip where the category for Family Feud was things you would compare a fat person to. And God bless him, you could see that Richard Dawson was physically uncomfortable and literally said on camera, we're not doing this again. Because there were things like pig and hippo and bus and whale. It was horrible. But everything we talk about in terms of it being a different world, in terms of, there were husky sizes for boys and chubby sizes for girls, the movies, the music, the TV shows we watched. Game shows were not oblivious to this. They lived right in it too.
Yo Mama's jokes, half of them were about Yo Mama being heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a big deal, and we said them all the time. So, the
That's true. I could have won it probably on like The Price is Right, or maybe no. What was Let's Make a Deal have like those were like rooms that you could win, right, or a car.
It was all kinds of things, just different, all kind. But sometimes they had the zingers where you'd get something bad too. It was always, it's a deal. You made a deal, and sometimes you made a good deal, and sometimes you made a bad deal.
But sometimes I wondered on those zingers, like a couple of times, it would be like this, like 7-foot teddy bear or something stupid like that. And I would think to myself, I wonder if they get to take home the zinger if they so choose. Because there was a couple of times where I'd be like, that would be a really cool thing to sit in my house. You know what I mean? Or like, I wonder if my mom would let me put that in the backyard.
Now, you know that these gifts weren't free and clear. I can't speak for every show, but I've had a friend appear on Wheel of Fortune, and I've had a friend appear on Price is Right. And in both cases, you need to pay the sales tax in order to acquire the items up front. You can't even take possession and sell them in order to make it. You need to pay up front. And on a showcase showdown, that can be a lot of money up front.
Yeah, especially if you win $100 and you win both.
Remember that when HGTV gave away its first couple of houses, that was some of the biggest problems with them giving away those houses, was that no one could pay the property taxes and the taxes on the house. And so they would win this house, and like that was it. Like the house went like abandoned, and stuff. But
that's why they started paying off the mortgage. So they had to be that way. They could take a mortgage out if they needed to in order to cover the taxes, I think.
Yeah.
But Oprah ran into that too with you get a car and you get a car and you get a car, and they're like, I can't afford the car and I can't pay
take the car.
And there were people in Hollywood who, like, especially The Price is Right, where if they were trying to break into acting, they were in the audience and sometimes they got selected. I saw a video of the kid from Breaking Bad the other day, Aaron. Can't think of his name. What, Aaron Paul? Yeah. And before he was like, when he was like going to different auditions, he ended up in the audience of Price is Right and he got called.
I'll go you one better. Vanna White got called in the audience of Price is Right before she was the letter turner on Prices on Wheel of Fortune. And Bob Barker kind of went after her. He made some comment. She wasn't paying attention when it came to her turn. He's like, if you worried less about what you look like and more about what's going on, you'd catch up. Like, he went after her.
Well, I'm going to watch it. There's a new documentary on The Price is Right that's out or coming out. I'm kind of curious to watch that. It was about Barker's beauties or something like that. And I'm very curious. But do you remember on The Price is Right where the people would they would lose their shoes, or like the lady with the tube top and she's jumping up and down and then bam, there were all those kind of things on there too that I don't know. Price is Right was one of my favorites. I mean, it's perennial. It's still on, and I love Drew Carey. So
yeah, he's doing okay with it. I mean, to take over Bob Barker, it's not a small task.
Yeah, that Price is Right documentary, apparently it's a hit piece on Bob Barker. And I just don't like when somebody passes away and then all of a sudden it's like, now let's do a documentary on all the horrible things that this person was when they can't defend themselves.
Gotcha.
So,
I had no idea.
That's what I saw. It was like, it's a hit piece on him. For whatever reasons, I don't know, but I just don't like when let's just wait till this person is gone and then we can say everything we want to say about them. And they can't say whether it was true or not.
Right.
Could be true, but they have no way to chime in themselves and say, hang on a second.
Hollywood Squares, dude, Center Square. My brain is gone. Forget it. We'll come back to that. The games on Price is Right. Number one, I wanted to spin that wheel. Yeah. Number two, they're right. Plinko was incredible. I wanted to play Plinko. I wanted to do the one with the little lady as he climbed up the mountain, the Alpine Mountain. Those games were iconic.
Yes.
Yeah. The games are, and the colors. Like, I just remember being, a little kid and staying home from school when I was sick and watching The Price is Right when I was a little kid. It was all about the games and like the colors on the wheel, like the green, the really bright glittery greens.
Yes, and the red.
And the red. That was what jumped out to me when I was like 12 and stayed home from from.
Dude, I'd get excited right along with them when they got $1. Like I was winning anything. I wasn't winning anything, but when somebody hit that $1 and won $1,000, and then there was once where they hit it again in the second spin, dude, that was incredible. Paul Lynde, Paul Lynde and Charles Nelson Riley, by far two of my favorite people ever to be on game shows. Both of them absolutely ridiculously, crazily funny.
The Alpine Yodeler was the best.
That's what I mean. You just wanted me to do that again.
CSF asked about Bodie. Bodie's great. He's just over here sleeping in his bed. He's got a little hematoma on his ear. So we're getting a little treatment for that right now, but he's doing good.
Yeah.
The Yodeler, now you're reminding me, like there was there one? No, what was the game where they smashed you? Like it was like paper in front of
someone. And they would punch if they got the price within a certain thing. Which one's more expensive, this one or this one? Or the price is $2.42. Which is it? Is it the Geritol or the Kraft mac and cheese? And if you got it right, you earned a punch.
Yeah,
and then you could go through. That was a cool game. I love whenever I would watch old ones and some of the cars they could win. I remember when I was growing up, it was generally always around $5,000. So you could win a brand new car, and the price of the car was $4,950. I'm like, now I'm like $58,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it wasn't it if you got within $500, you won both showcases.
If you got within $100,
$100. Yeah, you win. And I've seen a couple of those where they won both showcases. But nowadays, I feel like those prices, like they're so crazy different from each other. It'd be like a wild guess. It'd be like winning the lottery. Like you said, cars could range from 20 grand to 80 grand.
I just never understood why people, when they said, at the beginning, you were trying to get up there on stage and they had the whatever it was, and everybody said, I think it's $300, I think it's $700. I never understood why the last person didn't just always say $1. Because chances
they often did.
You're gonna, maybe not, but there's probabilities are if you go $1 or if you feel like everybody's lowballing, you just go $1 over the highest bid. That people would just like.
Well, that's the bitch of it all.
Terrible.
If I said $385 and you came in and said $386 after me, I'd want to fucking throat punch you.
Hey, I don't care.
You invalidated me. I'm done now. Unless it's $385 on the dot, I'm done. I don't know why that didn't happen more either. But once I figured that out, I'm like, what an asshole.
That's a dirty ass trick right there. I know.
That's what I would have done because the whole goal is to get on stage. So I don't care. Like I just never understood that. They would pick some random number. I'm like, you idiot. Like just go $1 or go $1 higher than the highest bid if you think they're too low. Turtle wax. Somebody mentioned turtle wax and rice-a-roni.
Yeah.
Those were always two of the prizes, rice-a-roni and turtle wax. Mm-hmm. All right, so we've talked for a little over 15 minutes about game shows. Does anybody have any last comments on game shows?
I'm trying to think
in terms of the fact that wrestling was almost a topic and that wrestling was faked. I do want to say that there was a time when game shows were also faked in order to promote entertainment, and they put an end to that pretty fast. But John will use the F word. I found myself sitting up straighter. I mean, sometimes it slips out. But did you know that as a result of that, shows like Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race are all governed as game shows?
I can buy that because I absolutely can. My final words were going to be have your pet spayed or neutered. 2x2.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And 2x2 was the dating game.
Yeah. 2 and 2. Not the dating game. Not the dating game.
What was it? 2x2.
No, we'll be back in 2 and 2.
Love connection.
Love connection.
Love connection.
Okay,
oh my God.
Yeah. All right. So that was my final word.
All right. Good. So we did game shows. Now we're going to talk about infomercials. And those were, and we can talk about the long, I mean, infomercials were designed to be long form, but if you want to include things like the Chia Pet and stuff like that, that's fine, because those were actually a couple minutes long. Some of those commercials, they weren't exactly infomercials, but that was the time, the Ginsu knives and the Chia Pets. But I'm thinking more along like the long form infomercials, particularly like a lot of them were gym equipment, like
the Gazelle.
The Gazelle. What was the one that Suzanne Summer did? The
Thigh Master.
Thigh Master.
Well, there were so many people, and they became part of pop culture as well. You knew you had made it as an infomercial when Friends had you on. And Amazing Discoveries was an actual infomercial platform that would change the product, but the thing that they put it around was Amazing Discoveries, and Joey got to be on Amazing Discoveries. Saturday Night Live used to mock Tony Little. Remember the little blonde guy that would do the exercise equipment with the ponytail?
That was the Gazelle. He did the Gazelle.
He did?
And that thing that did.
Yeah, he did the thing. Yeah. You had Ron Popeil with the spray on hair.
My favorite infomercial guy was the ShamWow guy.
ShamWow.
Oh my God, he was amazing.
Chuck Norris did infomercials with Christy Brinkley.
Oh, that's right. That was hold on. It was like a Bowflex or a Solo Flex, but it was something else.
Could have been Bowflex. No, wait.
It was all gym. God, what the hell was that?
You didn't answer.
What's that?
No, my wife brought me a cup of coffee. I kept texting her, asking for a coffee because my energy's real low today.
Total Gym. Thank you, Shane. Total Gym. Yeah, Total Gym. Yeah, so many of them were gyms because that was like a thing. Like you could working out, unless you're like super disciplined about it, has always been this fad thing. And the next new fad comes along and people make millions of dollars off of it and then it's gone. Like Taibo. Whatever happened to Taibo?
Yeah.
That was like a huge, right? And then it was just gone. And they move on to the next thing. Like to your point, that Tony Little guy, he would just make his money on this thing. And then when that wore out, he moved to the next one.
I mean, Susan Powder. Stop the insanity. Come on. They literally, I don't know, Kevin. Kevin says none of the Ronco products work. He was a pretty amazing inventor. Mr. Microphone worked perfectly fine. I can attest to that. I don't know about the inside the egg scrambler, but
somebody mentioned SNL had the best, and I agree, had the best made fun of infomercials with the Bassomatic. And
I remember the Bassomatic. Yeah,
cut my hand.
Yeah.
Miss Cleo. The best infomercials had someone like a Miss Cleo that you would get invested in. So you'd start watching it almost like you were watching a show. And they entertained you. So, yes, it was informative and it was a commercial, but there was also an entertainment aspect that kept us watching through the whole thing. Because we knew we were being sold to, but we're like, all right, I'll watch your pitch if you entertain me.
Somebody just said time life music of whatever. Like you sat there and you listened to little segments, and it was like songs of the 70s, love songs, wedding songs, whatever it may be. Those were absolute, and I listened to them because I was like, oh, I like that song. Oh, I like that one.
That's a huge one. I totally forgot about, actually.
Yeah.
Those were big because you only got to hear the music when the DJ felt like sharing it with you, unless you had the cassette tape or the CD at some point. So to be able to hear all that music, even if it was like 10 seconds of each one, it was like so cool. You're like, oh my God, I love that song. I love that song. Yeah.
Dionne Warwick, somebody mentioned, with the Psychic Network.
Oh my God.
George Foreman.
I was just about to say George Foreman. His grill.
Do you know that the story behind that George Foreman, so they initially went to Hulk Hogan. Or his agent was trying to get a hold of him because they wanted him to be the grill. And they had two opportunities. It was this grill or it was these pasta restaurants. And they couldn't get a hold of Hulk Hogan. He was on his boat and he was out of range. And so George Foreman was like, I'll take the grill, because they wanted both for spokespeople, but they were kind of like, whatever you guys want to do. So Foreman's like, I'll take the grill. Hogan gets stuck with the pasta restaurants, which never went anywhere. And Foreman becomes a a multi-millionaire, a lot more than that actually. From the
Someone just mentioned something on here that I had forgotten about, was that you could pay COD. That's what I was just, you're a step ahead of me, John. Pay COD. Like, you called up and they were like, okay, well, we'll send it to you. You just pay us when it gets there. I mean, like, these were different times.
Yeah.
People keep mentioning the Flowbee. That was one. And I love how they sometimes the infomercial will be setting them all. And these people just happen to be walking by and sure, I'll let you cut my hair. Oh my God, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. They were so over the top that it was fun to watch. Blue Blockers, the guy that rapped about the blue blockers. Do you remember him? Out of nowhere, just somebody walking by and here he goes. He's got a rap for blue blockers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the other thing about these infomercials, I always wondered when they would say like money back guarantee, you can just send it back.
Mm-hmm.
That the only thing that you couldn't get back was your shipping and handling.
Right.
So what they would do is, let's say the product was $19.95 and then it was $6.95 for shipping and handling. Well, the shipping and handling for the company was only $3.95. They would build in an extra $3. So if everybody returned their product and they sold 1 million of them, they made $3 million.
But stuck with a ton of product.
But of course, what the product was worth.
So what is handling?
Handling is a bogus charge no matter what you do. I mean, if you pay handling, then you might as well go pay whatever dealer fees when you buy a car too. So
I get shipping. You shipped it to me. What, you handled it?
Yeah,
I handled it too. Do I charge you handling?
They put it in the box. Like that's the handling piece of it. But they would literally everybody sends it back. You clear $3 million minus whatever your overhead was, and you make $500,000 in 1985 if everybody returned the product.
Yeah.
That's how they got away with it.
Stacy Combs, love my blue blockers. That was exactly what he said.
There was a women's topsy-turvy, and it was this ponytail thing that you could twist a girl's hair over and pull it down through. And I can remember them having, maybe they were an extended commercial, but things about that too.
No, I remember there were like 30 different hairstyles you could use.
Yeah.
There was also the dress that I remember Jenny Lee Harris had one, Cindy from Three's Company, and it was like the infinity dress. You could wear it this way, you could wear it that way, and these are things I have no interest in whatsoever. But you get home super late or you're up super late because you can't sleep. There wasn't much else on still, so this filled a niche. There was a time when TV turned itself off at midnight, and then there was a time when programming went 24 hours, but there was this little in-between era, right, where we didn't quite have 24-hour programming, and it didn't shut off. And that's when infomercials went crazy, because you'd stay up late watching Richard Simmons do Dancing to the Oldies, because what else were you going to watch?
Or 7-minute abs. 7 minutes, 7 days, 7 weeks, the perfect abs. That was Richard Simmons.
Someone just mentioned the bedazzler. Like I that's one of those
Ron
things
Popeil.
back in my childhood. I'd be like, I wanted a bedazzler and never got one. Like I wanted to bedazzle the hell out of everything, never got one. So
actually, Ron Popeil's was a different one. His was more of they were like silver, the rhinestone something he had, but same idea.
I wonder if they used the bedazzler on the Price is Right wheel for the red and green.
Someone just mentioned something on here too, where they said, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
I forgot all about the fact that literally every single one of those commercials had only $19.95. But wait, there's more. If you order now,
you get a second set.
Yeah.
You get this smaller version that you can take with you when you travel. You can do something every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Did the infomercials were the infomercials influential in creating QVC, or was it the other way around?
No, I think it was infomercials first.
Okay. Because QVC, does QVC exist if infomercials didn't exist?
I have no idea.
Because infomercials kind of showed that there was a market for people to spend their money on whatever.
Yeah.
And they didn't really care. They would spend $20, $10, $25. So I wonder, if that was somebody, the QVC was like, well, I mean, maybe people do this 24 hours a day.
Well, Angela, part of our virtually live studio audience, I mentioned we watched late at night when we got home late. So we only watched when we were drunk. No, but we only bought when we were drunk. I'm convinced that all across America, a package would show up at 3 p.m. on a Monday because of a drunk night out on a Saturday, and the person's like, wait a minute, I did what now? Hence the COD. You were too drunk to get the credit card, but you're like, fine, just do COD.
You guys mentioned Chuck Norris, and with his passing this week, and bless his soul and his family and such. And we were talking about this, even though it's sort of off topic, about remember that, like, it's almost like a testament to him. Remember the jokes that we used to have about Chuck Norris?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Chuck Norris. I heard one this week that I thought was it was good. Okay, and it was things must be really bad in this world right now if God's calling up Chuck Norris to protect him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I did an entire video where it was just Chuck Norris isms about him dying. That death just had a near Chuck experience. St. Peter didn't open the gate for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris opened it with a roundhouse kick. Just up and down. Chuck Norris isn't resting in peace because Chuck Norris doesn't need to rest.
See, and that's what I was saying. Like, I'm like, those are such a testament to what an incredible man he was. So I just wanted to pay a little homage since we didn't mention about him passing. I thought that was just so good, so good.
Yeah, QVC, I will say, in terms of its connection to infomercials, they make everything look amazing. And that's what infomercials did really well. If there was a boombox on, they'd hit the eject and, like, watch how slowly the cover opens. That's a sign of quality. It doesn't just clunk open like a cheap sound design serial. That's how you tell quality. These people don't have a clue what they're talking about, but they'll fill the air, and there's never silence. They know what they're doing. And QVC did it live. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to be one of the people to call and just fuck with them, but I'm surprised that never happens. They must screen those calls so well.
I'm sure they get through sometimes. Yeah, 3 easy payments.
Never saw it.
3 easy payments. That's right.
Yeah, it was $19.99.
Yeah, $39.95.
Cutting through a can of Coke, the Ginsu knives and stuff. Like
and still sharp enough to cut a tomato.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After the can.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were awesome. And I mean, it's and I still have them today because I am a night owl. And, thankfully we have stations that don't have infomercials anymore, but they are still out there. And if you fall asleep with the wrong channel on, you'll wake up at 2 a.m. with an infomercial and you think, who's buying this stuff? But somebody clearly is.
Listen, dude, and it's like I said, it's 30 years later. I think the 90s was the golden era of infomercials, and we still remember Tony Little's name. We still remember Susan Powder's name. They've become part of pop culture. It's beyond what they started with, and that's part of what we talk about. There are many roads to fame and infamy. Apparently, infomercials are one.
Yeah. All right. So we had game shows. We talked infomercials. And now we're going to talk gym class, phys ed, whatever you called it back in the day. And this topic came to me because I saw a video the other day about some of the things that we did in elementary school in phys ed, like climbing those ropes where we were 30 feet in the air with nothing underneath of us.
No. To be fair, there was a 1/2 inch mat on the ground that represented our safety.
Or the pegboard.
Or the pegboard, or if you had a school like mine that would bring in the trampoline once a year, and then they'd put us kids around the trampoline as spotters, which simply guaranteed there'd be a second victim.
The parachute.
That's what
parachute, dude.
I'm filling in on my blanks today. The parachute was my favorite thing in elementary.
Everyone's favorite thing. Yeah. Square dancing, which for some reason was a gym class thing.
It's funny because I still remember Josie Doe and all. I still
Alamond left.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why did we learn square dancing? I don't even
because
know.
It was inexpensive. It needed so square dancing fit a requirement of curriculum in gym class, which teaches coordination and teamwork, following instruction and direction. It needed no equipment and it was cheap. That's why so many of us did square dancing.
Yeah.
We did the shuttle run. What's that? The shuttle run?
It's so funny, though. I thought it was like a regional thing. You know what I mean? No, apparently everybody learned square dancing if you were Gen X.
And we had to put on a show. Like our parents came when we were done to watch us do the square dancing. So we went one step further. We publicized our shame because we were god awful.
Did you guys
Bring
play
your partner around and around, blah, 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 whatever. Dude, it sucked. I hated gym class. Hated gym class.
We girls in the 80s, we had a problem with gym class. Like gym was not, they didn't really care if you walked around and we didn't sweat because we weren't allowed to sweat when we were girls in the 80s. Okay. That was just not cool. But the problem was at least once every 2 weeks or a month, you had to do swim class. And in the 1980s, when your hair had to be big, and then the gym teacher who I don't know if mine was a man. I'm not entirely sure. Dunk your head. You know what I mean? Like you had to get your hair wet. It was like sadism. Do you know what I mean? Like why do I have to do that?
I guess I'm down in the South now, and pools in high school are clearly a Northern thing. None of the Southern schools have them. I knew in New York State, most, if not, I mean, there was a swim team, and you went from school to school and competed. So a lot of the schools had pools. Down here, not so much. Listen, I was undersized and blind as a child with glasses thick enough to burn ants on a sidewalk in February, and we're talking Buffalo, Rochester winters. My gym teacher, Mr. Behe, if he's dead, may he rot in hell, took my glasses away from me before gym class every single time because he said they were expensive, and then instructed the class to bean me with the dodgeball because he thought it was funny that I couldn't see them coming. The guy was evil. Evil. I don't want him to rot in hell. Sorry, Mr. Behe. But you know what I mean. Not a nice person. And shirts versus skins was traumatic. My ribs could poke through like steel. I was so skinny. Not a good look.
I had a favorite. I forgot all about this and I just remembered it. One of my favorite activities, and then it turned into like a school competition where you could join the team in elementary school, was scooter soccer.
Yeah.
I freaking loved scooter soccer. That was my favorite thing. And you would literally kick the living shit out of someone else's shins, like just to get a ball. Like that was, I absolutely loved it.
I'm glad
Chris, you were probably a good shape even as a young kid, I'm assuming.
I mean, I had a growth spurt. I was
mine came at 17. Until then it was hell.
I went from 5'5" to 5'11" and 110 to 160 over summer.
In what year?
7th grade.
See, and I did that in 11th grade, so too little, too late. Showering in gym class? Are you effing kidding me? Like we weren't all embarrassed enough about our bodies to begin with. Now you're forcing me to stand 3 inches from another naked boy in a crowded shower. We didn't have any dividers. It was just spigots on the wall. Stand there, your shame available to the world. And Mr. Behe would come up behind us and put his hands in our hair. And if it wasn't wet, he's like, "You didn't shower. Back in again."
Yeah. And that was as a freshman in high school. Like middle school, I don't think we did.
We had a shower in middle school.
I think ours was high school. But I'm glad to see other people said they didn't have pools in their high school because I don't know what high schools you guys went to, but we did not have a pool.
There were swim teams. I mean, there was even there's movies that show. I mean, it's pretty common.
Yeah,
but
we had a pool, and you had to get in it. You know,
yeah, I mean? Had to get in it.
Oh yeah, you had to. That was part of
we didn't. In Baltimore, we didn't have pools in our schools unless you went to private school. Public schools didn't have it.
Not only did most New York State public schools have it, but it was part of our curriculum. You had to learn to swim or you couldn't graduate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody else mentioned kickball. Kickball was awesome. I loved kickball. I remember the parking lot that we played it in and the fences that were out there that like.
You played kickball on pavement?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus.
No,
we had grass.
We were supposed to play it.
We had grass. We in the baseball field.
Blacktop.
Everything was parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I literally gym class for me.
Well, you grew up in Pennsylvania, and apparently you grew up where they were too poor to even have a pool. So
Kevin was backing me up that we don't have pools in our schools in Baltimore. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody did. I really thought that was a thing, like where most high schools.
A lot did. It's very common for especially girls. And what period you had gym class mattered. Because if you were a girl and you got ready at home and you got that hair 6 feet high and you were ready to go and then you had gym class first period,
you were in trouble.
That sucked. I remember girls hating that. Not just because of swim. Swim was the worst of it. But there was like gym clothes too. Were gym clothes a thing for you guys? We had to, kids don't bring gym clothes anymore. They were at least up through middle school. My daughter's in middle school now. They just do whatever they're going to do in their regular clothes. They just have to make sure they have sneakers that day. And it's not all year. Gym class only half the school year here.
Well, they gave us like a shirt that we had two sides to it. So it had red on the outside. It was red on one side. And then when that got dirty, you flipped it over on the inside. It was a different color. It was white. And that way you didn't have to wash it for a week. That was the idea.
We brought our own, but we had to bring in a T-shirt. We had to bring in gym socks. We had to bring in shorts. And we had to have sneakers for gym class every day. And when I tell you those shorts and shirt probably didn't get swapped out more than twice all year. By the time the year was over, like if it got stuck in the locker door, the locker wouldn't close. It's like, tunk! Oh, what did I hit? Oh, my shirt.
I will say that my elementary school phys ed teacher, Mr. Shawless, I actually mentioned him in one of my books because he was such a good dude. Like looking back, he was the typical phys ed teacher, especially in elementary school. He had like the little shorts with the whistle, all that stuff. He had 2 hearing aids, so you could understand what he was saying and he could hear you, but just needed some enhancements. But the cool things that he did with his own money, he put up this wooden board up above the gym. And for all of the things that we did, like shuttle run, 100-yard dash, the rope climb, he had records for each grade your name and the year. And so that would incentivize kids to try to break those records. And the coolest thing he did was there was never an excuse not to do phys ed. He had a room full of tennis shoes. And there were kids around me that couldn't afford, they had their one pair of shoes and that was it. And he would let them go into this room and pick out a pair of tennis shoes for gym class, which was like the coolest thing. I mean, I'm sure he was doing that out of his own pocket. Now looking back as an adult, but he wanted everybody to participate and he wasn't doing it in a mean way. He just felt it was important for kids to move. And so he was going to make sure you did.
One thing I want to add, because we talk about Gen X, about how tough we had it, right? And a lot of things tough. The generation before us, nationwide, as part of a federal suggestion, it was no big. They swam naked in school.
What?
I just wanted to double check that I was right. And it's absolutely true that throughout the first half of the 20th century, nude swim classes, both in schools and at the YMCA, was just the way it was. And not only was it not suggested that bathing suits not only weren't required, they weren't permitted. It had something to do with modesty and but they swam naked in school in the 50s and 60s. That would have been a deal breaker. I'd have been done. It's over. You're going too far. But I'll have boomers that when I talk about gym class on my page will come in and say, you think you had it bad. We had to jump into the pool, start just naked in the pool. That's the way it was.
I had no idea.
Kevin's saying co-ed naked swim classes. I don't think so. But guys, we don't give homework often. And when we do on this show, it's usually go watch this movie or go watch that. But Google naked swim class in the 50s and 60s. I'm not making this stuff up because like so many things about the past, you can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
I mean, I do think though that, if we laugh at some of the stuff we had to do in phys ed. And yes, there were times where it was awkward. But the idea that they've been removing it from school seems really kind of stupid. And it doesn't mean that you have to have this full-on phys ed class, but just movement for kids is important. And I hope that there's like kind of like a coming back to that. Like you talked about, John, like all of us in this open stable shower was incredibly awkward. And I look back now and I'm like, that was just horrifying.
Not necessary.
But the idea that the kids, okay, we're just going to get rid of phys ed. We're going to get rid of gym class. I don't know. To me, I feel like
I don't even like that they've limited it to half the year. It's basically an elective like all others now. And I agree with you that mind, body goes together, health class and an awareness of what makes us healthy and strong. I think it's important. I do think it's funny that everything in gym class we turned to violence. I remember very early on playing things like Duck, Duck, Goose in gym, you know, and if I didn't smack the gum out of your mouth, hitting you on the back of the head, yelling Goose, I wasn't trying hard enough. Musical chairs. Musical chairs became blood sport. It was a death match. You know, and now you see little places taking away. We don't take away the chairs anymore. Well, then what's the game? Now it's just music in a chair. It's not a game.
Oh, we learned how to take our licks whenever we were younger, and we learned how to be picked last, because in gym class, when there was teams to be picked and stuff, they didn't like get down to the last like 20 people or 10 people and be like, okay, you pick a number or something. No, it was like you might be the last person standing there going, oh,
well,
God,
I told you, blind and underweight. So yeah, I was last constantly.
Yep.
Yeah,
the asthmatic, the kid that was 40 pounds overweight and asthmatic got picked before me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said war ball, which we played too, which was like super dodgeball.
So we called it war ball as well.
Yeah.
I never called it that, but we did play in our elementary school on the blacktop. We played against the school cement block wall. That's where we played at. That was our dodgeball area because there were no windows on that wall.
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen, I look, like I said, I had a great phys ed teacher in elementary school, but I look back now and I think like, it was a pain in the butt, obviously sometimes, but I just feel like it's important. And I think we're all talking nostalgically about these games that we played. And also the fact that, again, you know, somebody mentioned earlier in the comments, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? And we've talked about that before. Well, that was kind of how they treated us in school and phys ed. That's why we played games like dodgeball. It was just basically like, hey, you might get hit in the face with the ball, but suck it up and go to class afterwards.
It's like everything else. It made us who we are today. And yeah, it wasn't enjoyable at the moment. There was nothing fun about being picked last over and over again. But I remember Mr. Hughes was our gym teacher. And I went up to him in the 10th grade I was ready to have it out with him because he gave me a 70 in gym class. And I was there every day and I did my best every day. So I'm like, hey, you do your best in gym and you show up. That's a 90. That's gym. And I was a brainy little nerd and he was killing my GPA. And he said, well, I don't understand what the problem is. You're average. A 70 is average. You're an average athlete. You get a 70. And I'm like, that's not the point. And he's like, why do you think it's not the point? My athletes who are talented and are good that get the 90s feel the exact same way in your science class. Get used to it. Ooh. And I'm like, you know what, dude? Okay. Yeah. I took my 70 and I shut up. I'm like, we're all good at different things and everybody gets to be somebody, something else. Some kids do it in band, some in chorus, some in gym, some in science. And it's important because some kids only shine in places like gym class.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Or wood shop or metal shop or whatever. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So
no, I don't want to stop. Let's go 2-hour show. Let's keep talking about being naked in gym class.
Let's not. So we talked about game shows.
Yep.
We talked about infomercials. And we talked about phys ed gym class. Now, for those of you that are new, all three of those connect to one thing. One person, one thing, one movie, one show, something. They all have a connection.
They do.
Including the 80s wrestlers.
Yes. And because I know you, or at least I think I know you, without even knowing how they connect, I think I know the connection. Just because I know how the way the Chris Clue's brain works. So I'm going to try to write it down. If I can find a pen. I'll screw the pen. I'll get all techie. But we'll always give our live studio audience a chance to go first. Oh, there's a guess.
That was going to be my guess.
That's my guess, too.
Mm-hmm.
Chick Norris? Who's that?
Chuck Norris was also going to be my guess. Now, I knew that he had an infomercial. It's not a stretch to believe that he could have been involved somehow in wrestling. The game show, not a clue. Gym class, was he part of the president's physical fitness thing? That was a part of gym class we didn't mention.
Most people are guessing it is Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Of course, I had to do it.
I knew you would.
So he was on The Price is Right.
Oh.
He was obviously did the infomercial that we talked about. Phys Ed, we all played dodgeball. He had the cameo in the movie Dodgeball. And then with the wrestlers, there were 3 wrestlers that guest starred on Texas Walker or Walker, whatever, Ranger, Texas.
Right.
Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and Rowdy Piper were all guest stars. So I figured we could go with either one of those connections. But yes, the connection is Chuck Norris.
And he was a proponent of the president's physical fitness program as well.
I'm sure he was. Yeah.
Which was a part of that we didn't mention, but that was also a very big part of gym class. I remember having to do how many sit-ups can you do, how many push-ups can you do, and then in front of the entire world, we announced our weight so that the gym teacher could write it down. That must have been fun for some people too.
And I did not know this when I went on the offshoot about Chuck Norris. It didn't dawn on me. I wasn't guessing Chuck Norris until the very end here. So yeah, it's not like I was giving the clues away. So
I want to play cards with clues because the minute somebody mentioned that Chuck Norris had an infomercial, Chris goes, "Oh yeah, really?" And I'm like, "Whoa, that poker face sucks."
Poker face,
dude. You visibly changed color. You went red, and you're like, "Yeah, oh yeah." There. And I'm like, "It's Chuck Norris." I don't know how yet, but it's Chuck Norris.
I'll play poker with you. For sure, 100%.
If that's the face you use to bluff, I'm ready.
I had to do Chuck Norris. I mean, how could you not? Like I had
to obliterate you both in poker, by the way.
All right, well, we'll do that in August.
We'll do that. I'm telling you, I'd do it. Yeah, I'm pretty good at it.
I had to do Chuck Norris. I mean, it just, how could you not? I mean, I figured a lot of people would get it. And there were a lot of different ways to connect it. But yeah, the dodgeball, you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. I just thought it would be a fun connection. And of course, he was like such an influence on me as a kid. His movies, Missing in Action and Delta Force. I mean, that
Sidekicks.
My friends and I would go out and we would play war in the woods, and we all wanted to be Chuck Norris. And we would watch his movies, and then we would get our little plastic guns, and we would go out into the woods. It was awesome.
Chuck Norris went to a feminist rally and left with his shirt ironed and a sandwich.
I never heard that.
Me neither. That was good. Oh.
I think that's the best one I've ever heard. I was trying to be sentimental about the one that I did, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know how people would react to the Chuck Norris jokes, I think they're a testament to him. I think that, but they're hilarious,
Well, he did one himself. I just posted a video and it's Chuck Norris talking. And he's talking about when he was doing something with wildlife and he's petting a tiger. And the wildlife guy said, "Hey, be careful." He goes, "Be careful that you hear that sound. You may want to walk away right now." And Chuck Norris goes, "Yeah." The trainer goes, "When you hear that sound, it might be time to walk away. This is getting dangerous." And the cat walked away.
Yeah. He was, check for Chuck on the boogeyman checks for Chuck under his bed. I think we all heard that one, but no, that I'm going to tell my husband that one. I hope he's listening.
I'm offended. As a strong feminist, I'm offended.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of Chuck Norris, and just
I never watched Walker, Texas Ranger, Delta Force, Missing in his movies. Yeah, never really saw Walker, Texas Ranger, for whatever reason.
I just remember the Missing in Action when he comes up out of the water with all the camo paint on. And he just looks so badass. And we were, all my friends and I, we all were like, we would fight over who was going to be Chuck Norris when we played war. So
his name was synonymous with not just fitness, but he had a good soul. He had a good message. He had a good it wasn't like, I don't know, you thought of Bruce Lee like martial arts, but Chuck Norris was more like all around, he was everything. And I admired him for all the things that he was.
I mean, but this is the thing, all the Chuck Norris jokes, we talk a lot on this show about, all of the pop culture that we consume. And there's a ton of it. There is just so few people that are pop culture icons. And Chuck Norris is a pop culture icon. I mean, he will always, I think long after we're gone, his name will still resonate when a lot of these people that will not. So, sorry,
Chuck
guys.
Norris lost his virginity before his dad did.
Your sentiment, and I'm sitting there laughing because I'm reading the comments. There's tears coming out of my eyes, and I'm just like, I'm sorry.
All good. Just making a comment on Chuck Norris and pop culture.
It was a beautiful comment, and I'm trying, as I was trying to hold back my laughter from the virginity thing there, but the tears were just coming because I couldn't stop laughing.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, and he was supposed, he was a Christian. He was, that's what I said. He was kind of an all around guy.
And like everything else, we can't live in a divided society without some people having issues with something. But of the things that he brought to pop culture that we can all talk about, it's undeniable that he's going to be remembered forever in that sense. And that's that. Absolutely incredible. Huge loss for those of us that grew up as kids watching this stuff. And no, he wasn't a Gen Xer. So we also lost Nicholas Brendan this week, who played, if you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he played Xander on Buffy, and he was a Gen Xer. So when we lose someone like that, when we lose somebody that's one of us, it's one thing. But when you lose somebody that was the adult in the room when we were children, that was an icon in our formative years, it's a different kind of loss, and not one greater than the other. But every now and then I'll have, older people say, hey, he was one of us, not one of you. And I'm like, understood. But he played a huge part in my childhood.
Chris, I think it was a beautiful connection. I think very, very time appropriate. And all the topics were absolutely wonderful to talk about and to come together like that. A lot of people in the comments said they've never gotten one of the connections, and they love the idea that they actually got this one, and that it was easy, because it's not always meant to be, super, super difficult for people.
Well, yeah, he was, I mean, again, you think about entertainers that were also martial artists that are going to be remembered, and they're literally like a handful. There's Chuck Norris, there's Bruce Lee, there's, to a certain extent, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal.
Bruce Leroy.
Yes. They Call Me Bruce.
They Call Me Bruce.
They Call Me Bruce. That was a great movie.
Got the glow.
But there's very few that really had staying power and made an impact, not just in pop culture, but just on the world. And, I think Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris are probably 1, 2 right there.
Awesome job, dude. If I had to guess the topic, the hidden connection tonight before the show started, I would have said Chuck Norris. I didn't think there was a chance in hell you were going to miss an opportunity to eulogize him in a way that only our show can. Yeah. So I think that's awesome.
I think it's beautiful.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad everybody enjoyed it, and I'm glad a lot of people got the answer, because that means that we're all thinking the same thing this weekend. And we've had a rough year or so.
2026 has not been kind.
Even into 2025, we had that 1 week.
But it's March. We just the woman who played Lex Luthor's girlfriend in the Superman movies just died today.
Yeah, Valerie Perrine.
Yes, Valerie Perrine.
But no, I mean, even going back,
older, but still.
You've got 1 week, we had Malcolm Jamal Warner, Hulk Hogan, and Ozzy Osbourne.
That felt like 2025 turning to 2026. It was just, there's something, it's got to stop. Give us a break. We just need a break. I'm like, eyes on Carol Burnett. Somebody make sure, Dean, people need to be protected. Bubble wrap them now. Phil Collins, no. Just bubble wrap him now.
And who's still alive after all of this? Keith Richards.
Dude, there's an amazing meme where Death is playing at the claw game, and he reaches in and picks up, and it's Matthew Perry, and you see Death go, is Keith Richards even in this thing?
Oh my God.
Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate it. Thank you. I mean, it's true.
Richard Simmons compared to Keith Richards. Like Richard Simmons was healthy his whole life, and then he died before Keith Richards. So yeah.
Chuck Norris. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like just,
yeah.
But this is the time now that we're going to be losing the people that we grew up with.
As we become the
a lot
senior
more
people on the planet.
It's going to be shocking because we lose them, but it's not going to be shocking because it's going to be every couple of days we're going to start losing people that we grew up with. And so we just have to appreciate that they entertained us.
Well, I heard that might be my best. That might be my favorite yet. Chuck Norris will return in Avengers Doomsday. All right, guys. Well, listen, awesome show. I had a blast. Chris, amazing topics. Real general, real broad. Let us talk and got the virtually live studio audience involved in a huge way. So thank you.
Yep. Love it. Thank all of you. I'm glad all of you, like I said, I'm glad so many people got it right. That was, not by design, but I was hoping that we would all be on the same page tonight.
Yes. It was wonderful. Thank you.
All right, y'all. I will be at Hickory Tavern in Indian Land, South Carolina, 30 minutes south of Charlotte tomorrow at 7 p.m. Doing our Gen X era trivia live. And I'll also be streaming live on YouTube if you want to see it. Other than that, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for Wonderful World of Gen X before coming back right here same time next week.
And I will be in Houston this weekend. But I should be back in time for the next Monday night's episode.
Nice.
Good.
All right, y'all. See ya.
All right. See ya.
Stay rad, everybody. But wait,
I'm pushing it.
But wait, there's more, somebody said.
Oh, wait, there's more.
But there's not. Except that might be there.